Welcome to Video Head Cleaner, the podcast that bathes in the blood of our football enemies, and more importantly, loves a good tight end.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I'm one of your hosts, Kyle,
and I'm Tommy, and we are reviewing the recent film, Him, the football, gothic, fantasy.
Yeah,
we're gonna figure out what exactly this movie is. I hope
if the movie knows what it is. Yeah, well, it's
There is that.
It's an interesting mix of elements that at least was advertised as pretty horror based, and I think it left a lot of people scratching their heads after seeing it. I guess we'll say.
Yeah. Is it horror? Is it a psycho thriller? Is it like a gothic horror? Is it all this in it's
got a lot of religion undertones.
Yeah.
It's definitely the main overtone is football and athletics and being the best in the stuff, so it's it's interesting. I like it. And so we first saw this as a sneak peek film a couple weeks ago. I kind of mind dumped all of my notes on here because of that. Tommy saw it recently today, so we'll be keeping me honest on timeline or some of these things and what happens. But just for any new listeners, because I don't know if we preface this every time on the episodes, this is a full spoiler, a long-form podcast where we basically walk through the movie via commentary and informational bits along the way. We love our movies, and we tend to want to discuss every interesting point. We're here.
We're going to blow the film big time if you haven't seen it. And that's just a disclaimer for all of our episodes because. So, yeah.
They should have yelled at us in the theaters if we try to discuss it, like this in there. So we do it on here. That's what we do. We're just two vaguely qualified gays with the occasional guests that love talking about movies. And so...
vaguely qualified. Yes, that's the best way of putting it. Yeah. Our qualifications are vague. for sure. So another disclaimer, especially about today's episode, is that you're going to hear a lot of lewd commentary about the lead actor of this film, by me specifically. Another element of this film that I'm going to have a lot to say about because, oh my, and here it starts now, Tyriq Withers. Oh, my God.
Even has a sexy name. It's like Tyriq. It's just a Q. Like, no, even a Q-U-E, just a Q at the end. And
exactly. Exactly. The name is already a tease. And, oh, man, is he... I haven't seen him in anything before this, but the camera loves him.
Actually, I think you did, because he was in the I Know What You Did Last Summer, like, soft reboot thing we saw.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Okay. Yeah.
But I don't think he had his shirt off as much as in this movie or something. No, so it probably didn't impact you the same way.
I was left only with his acting, which is okay. But just, this film, it highlights his gorgeous face nonstop. And I got to say, I think that maybe distracted me. The first time we saw this film, on watching this film the second time, I don't know if I liked it as much because I was just thinking about it just really analytically and whatnot. The first time I was just blinded by beautiful Tyriq Withers. Oh my God. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Oh my God.
I'm with you. Yeah. And I have to imagine lots of people are too. He's a great centerpiece for this movie.
Yeah. He's very easy on the eyes. For sure. For sure. All right, well, let's just go ahead and get right to the beginning here.
All right. Cool. So, we open on seeing a football game on TV taking place with the San Antonio Saviors versus the not important, don't get a name as far as I remember.
My favorite team. I was rooting for them.
And just for the gays, or again, if you're not gay listening and not into sports, that's a fake team. There was no San Antonio Saviors.
No.
It's what it is. But this is the team that are... Isaiah White, played by Marlon Wayans, he plays quarterback for this team, and so he's also sort of our second main character in this. And so we see baby little Cam, who Tyriq Withers plays here, watching the game with his family. And his family is super into this. They've got the flags on the wall. They're wearing the jerseys. Like, this is their team.
Yeah. And so, the sports announcer, we hear him talking in the beginning of this montage, and he calls sports theater with real consequences. And yes, sure. I mean, easy enough premise that we can accept. And then we also see this kind of contrasted or just directly linked to the home scene of little Cameron, his family, and we see the sports shrine that they have set up in their home, right? And so we're immediately presented with two kinds of arenas. We get the sports arena, and then we also have the religion arena, two theaters with real consequences, right? And this movie just is immediately linking the two of them.
And just the fanatical culture, behind sports, because the dad's saying, like, we're going to win today. Like, even though you're not doing anything, like, I say this too for my favorite teams, especially when they're winning. You're like, yeah, we did it. And,
we get a bit of identification with something larger than oneself. And we see all of the gestures of basic religious practice in this moment of intense fandom, right? So yeah, sports, religion, sports fandom, religiosity. It's this slurry immediately.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, religion's going to be a big tone in this, or a motif and stuff, and so that is an interesting bit. This is shot interesting because he's like right up in front of the TV. He's maybe 5 to 8, I would guess.
Yeah, he's a kid.
And I think he likes it, but also like we see his dad like making him like it. Like he slaps a football in his hand, and he's like, "We are watching this. You're gonna hold this. You're gonna, you love this, don't you?" Right, son. Like,
it's some indoctrination in real time, right? The kid is excited about what's happening, but there are expectations about his response that are being monitored, and the correct response is being enforced in some aggressive ways. So it's he's both in it, but he's almost kind of trapped in it in a way,
right?
Already, right at the beginning,
because the father even like turns his head at points to like watch the TV, and so when you say trapped, that's a pretty accurate description on stuff.
And speaking of which, watching the game, it's going well, but Isaiah gets hella injured, just brutally injured in a tackle, and it's gruesome. We get a little flash of this towards the end of this intro montage, and it's like his leg is basically almost severed below the knee.
Oh, there's a bone poking out.
Protruding. Yeah, like, it's broken. Clearly, it's stabbed out of the flesh. It's horrible.
It's a double like edged sword moment, because they do end up like on that play. They end up taking the lead and winning like 35-34 out of this. But at the same time, like the camera pans left and they're like, they won, and then the camera kind of pans back and is like, oh no, but. And this is the but, is that he is devastatingly, gruesomely injured.
Yeah, and the father forces young Cameron to watch. He turns away, looking off at some saviors, memorabilia, some items and whatnot. And his father forcibly turns his head to look at the TV and demands that he watches this. And it's clear that this is almost a religious rite, right? That a offering of blood has been made, and Cameron must appreciate this. He is being made to acknowledge this by his father.
And directly to that point, what the father says to him is, "Look at that sacrifice. It's what it takes to win and be great."
Yeah,
and sacrifice and blood. Yeah, it's part of it there.
Yeah, real men make sacrifices is a line from his father, and the sacrifice motif, or the theme of this, it starts early, right? This is a sacrifice, but a sacrifice as in. You perhaps take on an injury to accomplish something that's worthwhile, but it's a blood sacrifice. It's both. It's both a practice and the offering itself, right? And in the midst of his father forcing him to watch it, the father's also like hyping him up too, right? Excitedly asking, like, are you going to be the next GOAT? Are you going to be?
Who are you? I'm him.
Who are you? I'm him. Again, a very religious word, especially in the Christian tradition. We're getting some of that verbiage kind of spilling over into our sports fandom, right?
It's right on the surface, all this stuff. And I mean, it looks like it could be a permanent sacrifice because the announcer even questions whether Isaiah is going to play again with that brutal an injury.
Yeah, this looks like a career-ending injury, borderline life-ending injury. But then we go to the opening montage of the film, and it's a two-parter. The first part being Isaiah White, the reigning champion, the old GOAT. He's the GOAT, but he's the old GOAT.
Which for the gays in the sports is greatest of all time, just to call it out. Or
yes, for our,
I have to translate some of this.
for some of our gay friends who need some.
We're just very confused as to why we're calling him.
I'm not even a major sports fan, but I at least have some knowledge of the terms, but just in case, greatest of all time. But again, we've already touched on some of the slippage between religiosity and sports fandom. A goat being the classic vessel, sacrificial vessel, the way that the village frees itself if it sins by putting it in the goat. To then be sacrificed or cast out. Mm-hmm. So, what kind of goat is this? I don't know. Like, we have so much religiosity, we have so much sports fandom. What goat are we talking about? Maybe both. I don't know. We just saw a gruesome injury of the greatest of all time. Yeah. So we have Isaiah, the goat who's about to retire. Right. He's getting old. We hear snippets of sports reporters talking about his miraculous recovery from his injury, but he's been doing this for 20 years and how many championships, and surely he's got to retire at some point.
And this is it's 14 years later, importantly. Yeah. And so no longer a boy, for one thing. This is a college athlete that we now have Cam grown up to, but also we see that Isaiah's career has far from ended at that moment of gruesome injury. He has flourished. He is the greatest of all time, truly, because he is said to have, he just completed his 8th championship, which, to compare to reality, Tom Brady, the greatest of all time in reality, has 7. And so the director even talks about how he kind of wanted to make him a godlike figure and give him one more than that guy. So it's like, oh, he's incredible, essentially.
Yeah. And then second part of this intro is for Cameron Cade, Tyriq Withers, the young upstart, the new potential GOAT, right? He's the hyped up prospect who will potentially replace Isaiah White in this football franchise. And so there's a tremendous amount of pressure on him. The eyes are on him, but he's young and fresh, and he's got the it quality, right? So he's the heir apparent.
And he's talked about as being a number 1 through at lowest number 5 draft pick, for instance. And so, I mean, that's amazing. This is out of hundreds, if not thousands, of people that declare for the draft each year, and he's just shown to be incredible. And he was a walk-on, they talk about. I mean, some people are just groomed forever, but he's a great college player. And so he's about to take the leap to the NFL, and that's where we jump in with him, essentially. We see Isaiah potentially on the way out because they do talk about it's his 8th championship. He's incredible. He's doing great. But he's old in that sense. And I mean, even Tom Brady hung it up around 42, 45, and LeBron James is still out there at around the same age. I want to say 42, 45 also. And so it's hard sometimes to just lose your identity to a bit of when to hang it up.
Yeah.
When to have people stop screaming your name and you being incredible, and when do the young bucks take over your athleticism?
Yeah, it's not an old man's game, right? And so after 20 years, you can imagine Isaiah White is in his 40s at least, right? And still potentially risking those kind of gruesome injuries like we saw earlier, but just, football, it's a full contact sport, right? And he's getting up there in age. So we have the setup. It's a little bit of all about Eve, right? It's an old established figure and a young upstart, and that kind of tension. A reference for the gays out there, right? If you miss all the sports references, maybe you've seen All About Eve, a classic of gay cinema. So we get a little bit of that kind of setup right in the the beginning. And
we kind of see reporters hounding the two in this, like, interplay. Cam's being asked, what team you're going to. He's got an agent. He's got the whole 9 yards where they're hounding him about his upcoming career. And Isaiah's story, we see him in the locker room kind of holding his championship trophy while people ask him about, or he's thinking about the end of his career.
Yeah.
And we get a first weird, like, almost surreal thing happening when, like, the mascot's in there and, like, tilts his head at him and, like, pours a beer on the ground or something.
Yeah. We get this moment of Isaiah just kind of contemplating the end, essentially. The crowd, like his teammates are cheering. They've just clinched another championship, but it's like he knows that the clock is ticking and he's almost out of time. Right?
And further, to whatever he's considering himself, his contract is up at the end of next year, and so his team almost certainly won't renew him, is the vibe we're getting. Yeah. So he sees the writing on the wall, whether or not he chooses to perhaps continue.
Yeah, and he's had 20 years of stardom. It's hard to let go. We can imagine, right?
Right, because he is him in this moment. He is the league's him.
Capital H him. He is the guy, right? And so we get that shot of the team mascot or whatnot. It's kind of in slow motion, and the effect of it is to make the mascot seem a little grotesque, almost like the entire scene seems tired and exhausted and frantic in a forced way. And so you have this mascot kind of doing mascot wild wackiness, but you see this in a cold, tired light.
And so another sports thing I guess I'll call out that occurred to me, or that might not to people who aren't really familiar with, like, the inner workings of this. If Cam is going to be the number 1 through 5 draft pick, if you just won the championship in the NFL, you get the 32nd draft pick, like the absolute lowest, because why would they give you a high draft pick? Because you don't need it. Your team just won. So there's talk about people are like, oh, could he replace Isaiah White as the Saviors? But also, I don't think they would have the draft capital to get him, essentially. And so it's just a thought on that, and that could... who knows? That could come up later soon in this. But we jump to Cameron Cade being interviewed as he's back in his hometown in the same living room that we open up in, where now the sports shrine that held just all San Antonio Saviors stuff and things about somebody else's team, they hold all of his accolades and trophies and college banners and this or that on there. Where he now has become what his father was really hoping to be, perhaps.
Yeah, we see that his father has passed away too. There's a picture of him in a military uniform, a folded up flag that you'd receive during a military funeral. Basically, a small shrine to his now deceased father, who we don't know for sure, but perhaps died in service, in military service somewhere. We don't exactly know, but
all we get is really he's there with his mom, his brother, and his high school sweetheart girlfriend there with him. So it'll be teased out in that, but he says he's very happy to be back home. And the reporter sort of asks, like, "Oh, are you looking for anybody?" Or sort of ask if he's got romantically entangled. And the high school girlfriend makes it very clear to the reporter that he's so happy in this relationship and he's not single off camera.
Which, can you blame her? You want to lock Tyriq Withers down?
Oh,
like fast.
Yeah, no, you see this happen. I mean, because potentially the young goat of NFL today, Patrick Mahomes, Brittany Mahomes, now was his high school sweetheart as well, and has never let her claws out of him. Frankly. So this is not without precedent, or it could be even a knockout, sort of a little of her and all that.
But when they're as beautiful as Tyriq,
oh well, goodness, yeah, you dig those fingernails in, and you don't let go unless you're bucked off that ball or whatever. But
yeah. Today's episode is brought to you by me being horny for Tyriq Withers and soju, a wonderful Korean drink, fresh off of our episode of K-pop Demon Hunters, where we got some leftover drink here. So,
right.
Yeah.
We are honoring culture and in our mouths.
Honoring with our mouths.
Tommy would love to honor Tyriq Withers with his mouth.
Well, that's our episode, everyone. and yes, I would I honor I would dishonor too with my mouth. Oh boy. Anyway,
that won't be the last time I'm sure this comes up. But yeah, we find out his in the interview they ask him about his father and the fact that like he did drive him to love football, but he was a very forceful man about it. Again, maybe Cam did like football, but he also was very much like conditioned to like football by this.
How much choice he had is speculative. With his father as intent as he was, right?
Yeah.
And just from his own recollections, but we saw the opening scene. We know very much how fervent his father was, and so
very zealous, and Cameron seems pretty down to earth and humble though, and so he's just an aw shucks, he's a swell guy seemingly with all the questions.
He seems like a nice boy who's also kind of a deer in headlights. Like this is all getting real big for him real fast, and he's still just kind of a nice boy, Yeah.
And as to build off that, the next place we see him is at his high school field where he kind of goes back to be in his element, and he's alone really, except for his coach, who we see being like, "Hey, I'm gonna head out. Like, just lock up when you're done." And we see him nailing throws because he's throwing at the upright of the field goal stuff and hitting the pole every time.
Yeah, just bullseyeing the pole.
Clearly great at his craft.
But things are getting a little weird. Right, he's alone on the field. Seems pretty isolated, and he's walking towards the end zone, like walking off the field. He's done practicing, and he sees a football just spinning on the ground. Right, kind of reminiscent of like Inception. If y'all seen Inception, I'm a big device in that. Spoilers is that if you're in your dream, you spin a top, and the top never stops spinning, and that's how you know you're dreaming. Right. Well, we get something kind of similar with this, right? It's a weird moment where the football is just spinning. It's just there, stationary on the ground. It's spinning without seemingly losing any kind of momentum or whatnot. Something weird is happening. We're getting a little touch of the surreal that we're going to get more of throughout this film. He's walking towards it. He's looking at it, wondering just what in the world's going on. And then cut to the camera in front of him. We, the audience, see what's behind his shoulder, which is the mascot that was kind of bedeviling Isaiah earlier. I guess the mascot, or maybe a super fan. Maybe just a super fan.
He's got it's just like a weird costume, but it has like goat horns on it. It's very like horror based. But as Cameron bends down as he kind of marvels at the football, he bends down to pick it up, and he's like, "Oh, that's weird." But as he bends down, from his perspective, then we get a wide shot, and we see this person behind him with a weapon.
Who very quickly just clubs him over the head with it. It looks like he's wielding like a metal pipe, and just smack, head just clocks him from surprise from behind. And again, it's not clear if this guy's a mascot or a super fan or what. He seems to look like he is associated with the Saviors. I don't know. He's kind of an odd figure. He looks like almost like the embodiment of something about the Saviors.
It's hard to describe.
Kind of hard to describe.
He's like fully covered head to toe in like, I don't know, like Elmo texture fur, but in like weird colors, and he has like a sort of skull mask thing on. Just a very imposing, creepy figure, if nothing else. But he smacks the crap out of Cameron's head, and it takes us straight to a title scene where we see like basically the X-rays or like the damage that has been done with this this blow, and it's bad. Like he has more than a concussion. He's like cracked his skull in ways that have to be like stapled back, and
they describe it as a traumatic brain injury. So concussed at least, but he has a gnarly scar on his scalp, a number of stitches. After the opening graphics, where we see X-rays of skulls and brains, and whatnot, it invokes quite the ongoing controversy about traumatic brain injury in professional football, right? So. We're if you know anything about American football, you know this milieu, like this kind of moment where it's like, it's a big thing, right? And so here we start with a young football player taking a massive brain injury, right? Not on the field, but kind of on the field, kind of on the field.
And it's at the cusp of his, he's prized and valued for his athletic ability and what he can do on the football field. Yeah. And now he's thinking, if I take time off and actually heal myself or whatnot, because this is a discussion had between his mom and the doctor and him, where the doctor's like, I cannot in good conscience really clear you to play this violent sport, and the mom's like, oh honey, we'll get a second opinion because I know this is like our chance or your chance, and it
well, and the mother actually seems like she's trying to steer him away from doing it. The doctor says, I can't tell you whether or not he should do this. The doctor can just diagnose the injury and just keep it at that, right, as far as what you should do after this.
But she said weeks to years to recover, and if he took that time, again, his moment will have passed, essentially. This was his moment, and he still wants it to be, but should he, is part of what we're here.
Yeah, I mean, it is football. He just suffered a major brain injury, and this could just kill him if he takes another hit like that, for sure. And he's going to a career where he will take nothing but hits like that. So
it certainly leaves like a sort of Damocles over Cam here in the plot, because when we say that, it's like, I don't know, if he takes another one of these, he could be done. And so there are times or hits in this movie he takes, and it's just the audience like winces or gasps or something, because we're given that context early on to be like, oh no, like this could just go bad all of a sudden, essentially.
And Cam, he doesn't exactly look well. He looks pretty obviously dazed, maybe just by the stress of this, but also he really does seem like he's in a fog. Like the injury is still quite fresh. He very much hasn't fully recovered. In the doctor's office, he's kind of dazed. It cuts to him going through a crowd of fans and paparazzi or whatnot, and he seems super dazed at this point.
And I mean, concussions make you sensitive to light. There's a lot of camera flash bulbs going off, and so he's definitely like, he's wincing, don't do that.
Wincing at the onslaught of fame, but also just physical pain from traumatic brain injury and
loud noises, people grabbing at him and doing stuff and just wanting to have a piece of him, like quite literally.
And again, it's another interesting moment when two separate things are kind of aggressively merged, right? In the beginning of the film, we have football fandom and religiosity, and now we have traumatic brain injury and celebrity. Two other things that just get really, really crazily joined together in ways that as we see, we can see how they inform each other, right? But in this film, these are the ingredients that we have, right? And this is a moment when, like two more primary ingredients are introduced, paired to, right? Kind of. Again, we already saw the pairing of Cameron and Isaiah too, right? So it's a film with these kind of awkward pairings.
Yeah, and this is
over and over again
what he's at, where this is happening, where people are, flashing cameras at him and whatnot, is called the Combine. And again, as a gay translation here for sports, essentially when you are going to be declaring for the draft, whether in football or other things, you may show up to these events. And in NFL, it's called the Combine, where you're going to do a bunch of stuff. You're going to run a 40-yard dash. If you're a quarterback, you're going to see how well you can throw. If you're a receiver, you'll see how well you can catch. You're essentially young men displaying your athletic prowess, and teams watching you and saying, he did great, let's move him up higher on our draft board, or he did bad, we're not going to do it. And so he obviously was going to do everything at this Combine, but eventually, and I mean, this isn't jumping that far ahead, he doesn't participate in this. We meet his agent here for the first time, who's kind of like the one batting people away and being like, all right, get the fuck out of his face. One Tim Heidecker is who's playing him, who's most known for his absurdist comedy duo, Tim and Eric, with Tim and Eric, awesome show, great job, and all that. So it's very odd to see him in like I don't want to say dramatic role, but just like a role that's...
He was in the Jordan Peele film Us.
Oh, yeah.
He was Us. He was one of the friends of the...
That's true. He was, like the neighbor or something in that.
Lead family who's replaced by a doppelganger. Spoiler. We're just spoiling everything today.
Oh, my goodness. But yeah, interesting to have that happen. Cameron's staples are visible as he's like sort of in this like tunnel of people. And as he's sort of in the back where he's now with his entourage, with his family and his friends, he's in a barber chair where his like barber / friend end maybe is like fine-tuning his hair, but it's also a very nerve-wracking moment because his staples being so visible and the guy's like running this thing all over it and around his head and doing stuff.
Like they're trying to get his look correct, and in the process they keep running up against his injury. A very symbolic scene, right? The thing that's really holding him back now is this is something wrong with his head. And physically perhaps, but maybe his way of thinking is wrong, right? We've already seen these crazy moments of weird sports fandom already, and we're not even that far into the film, right? So, kind of like whether or not he was suffering from just the onslaught of fame or a concussion right now. It's like, what's his problem? Is his look correct or incorrect, or is it just he's still suffering from an injury? Like, again, two things that could be happening at the same time, right? There's a lot of things happening at the same time for poor Cameron.
All this stuff is like fame just crashing upon him. Like he's the rocks and these are the waves, because he's got his entourage there. Like I said, they're all talking almost around him. We see his phone in front of him where almost everyone he's ever known is texting him, like either "Are you all right?" or about his upcoming career and stuff.
His phone is blowing up, and his brother is arguing for him to keep going forward, and his mother is arguing for him to slow down. You're injured, and his manager is not exactly helping. And so it's kind of the people who are talking about him and around him. It's lopsided against him even still. Like it's only his mother who's really trying to fight this, and she's 2 against 1.
And there's hype men there. Like, I mean, this happens constantly, and especially superstars. And you talk about like the wife wanting to hang on to the girlfriend.
Yeah.
These people do too. And so some of these are very funny. I wrote down because they're like, "You're him," but they also say things like, "You're Himothy Chalamet," "You're him Kardashian," which was really like
really milking the moment. Yeah, exactly.
But distressingly, and to the gasps of the audience, at least in our like preview film, the barber runs his thing across the staples and hurts Cam as this is all just getting louder and louder around him, and essentially just snaps. He's like, "Ow!" Like, "Oh my gosh! Like, what did you do to me? This is actually hurting me." And in a moment that some of this is actually probably hurting him. All this stuff more than helping, and maybe we should just be careful and play a little more, cautiously with him. But he can't. This is all full steam ahead essentially, because this is his moment. Again, if he doesn't take it, I probably never have another one.
So he's kind of a victim to all the expectations that have been piled on him since he was a child, really, right? This is very much the end product of everything we as the audience have seen. And this insane injury, this attack on him, it can't slow anything down. It just can't. Poor kid. Like, this is one moment. So
no, and I mean, in sports culture, you often have to be like super tough. And whenever they're like, "Are you okay?" after they hurt him, he says he's fine and that he's had worse hits on the field, which almost certainly can't be true, mind you. But his agent right after that goes out there and says the same line to reporters when they're like, "Why isn't he at the combine? Why is he still going to be good to go for the draft, like, and for the team in the season and stuff?" And he's like, he's not going to go out there. But, there's 4 years of tape on him. Like, you just look, you see all this stuff.
Tim Heidecker, his manager, is trying real hard to keep hyping him up in the face of all of this doubt, for good reason, right? But there's still this lingering doubt, right? So,
and with that doubt, I mean, his draft stock's almost certainly dropping, and that he may no longer be the number one pick, and we kind of get some announcers or some like TV talking heads on the sports networks talking about that as well.
We transition to a scene where he's back at home. It's a party, right? He's got
there's another thing that happens before that, because another little surreal bit.
There's a spooky moment. Yeah, he's in the tunnel leading from the locker room to the field, right? And he's waiting right by the exit, like almost hesitating to go onto the field, right? It just, you can understand, right? Lots of pressure, lots of injury. It's a hard time for him. And so he's just kind of hanging out in the tunnel, and he's by himself finally. All the other players have run past him, and he's just kind of there, and it's the darkness of the tunnel behind him. And he feels a presence there. It's like we're not really quite sure. We hear sounds. It almost sounds like a goat, like an actual animal goat.
Right. Somebody else is behind him, and we've already seen how bad that can be.
Well, as we discover, it is a someone else. It's not an actual goat. It's just a crazy super fan who's apparently there in the tunnel, like somehow got there.
Yeah, he's in full body paint. He snuck past security somehow, and he's like, he looks a crazy look.
He looks sweaty and ragged and just wild-eyed. Yeah,
and you've seen this just this afternoon. Doesn't he get him to sign his forehead or something? He signs a weird place on this person.
Yeah.
It's just another one of those things about how fame and being him means that you got some weird ass people around you, and like a cult essentially, a religion may form around you as.
This is his first exposure to the crazy fandom that he is poised to inherit. He probably didn't really know this existed, and now here's this guy who snuck into this tunnel, into the sports complex, got to like a few feet from him. And
he looks at least 20 years older than him, and so it must be weird to be like a man 20 years or more older than me wants me to sign his forehead because question mark, or like because like fanaticism essentially.
This is like, a grown ass adult. Yeah, exactly. yeah.
But then we go to the party. Yeah, so what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
so.
and Cameron just kind of handles that moment, just kind of. Just babe in the wilderness, just kind of wide-eyed, just what the fuck. Yeah,
doesn't know what to say. Just like, I guess I will sign your head. Like, sure. But probably against doctor's orders next. So we flashed to him at a party where he's smoking a joint and sipping vodka straight from the bottle. I can't imagine that was on the like doctor's recovery list for concussion stuff.
He unless the order was to not mix it, just straight vodka. Only straight vodka from the bottle. Yeah, that's the only kind you can trust.
And we get the vibe, or at least I did. Oftentimes what's happening is these, after you've done the combine, after this and that, you'll kind of get some calls, or you'll be waiting to hear from teams that want you and stuff. And so he's got these hot women and his entourage still around him. But he seems in a weird headspace because he kind of is pushing them away. Like,
he's back at home. It looks like his brothers are throwing this big wild party to celebrate his, him poised to be drafted, but also kind of they're riding his coattails, right? Mm-hmm. They're kind of latched on, and they're enjoying his moment at his expense, right? They're drinking. It's a wild party. You got guys there hawking jewelry. So clearly large amounts of money are being exchanged. Whose money this is? It's Cameron's that he hasn't yet earned. Checks are already being written against him, by his own family, right? And then you got all these hot babes and whatnot. You got a bunch of hangers on in this room, right? And just yet more pressure for young Cameron. Here are all the people who have now declared that they are dependent upon his success.
And to the point where his brother brings him his phone to talk to. He's like, he kind of pushes his brother away, but then he's like, no, it's your agent. He's like, oh, fine. He like takes the phone and goes into the bathroom. Yeah. But even then, trying to be alone, like laying down in a bathtub, people like open the door and like three of them push their way in and are like kind of being like, what's going on? What are they saying to you? He's like, get away from me. Like, I'm literally trying to have my moment.
He's hiding in a bathtub, and even still, that's not enough. But his manager has some, it's a mixed news, right? They're basically, they're about to draft him, but it's just, they just got some lingering doubts about his head injury, right? The owners of the team they're just kind of concerned, but they have a proposition for him. They want him to go train with Isaiah White at his home, his compound, right? And if he does this, and he kind of, gets the green light from Isaiah himself, he's set. So he has a tentative yes. They're going to draft him, but he's got to clear this first, right? So that's now our inciting dilemma, right?
It's just a week, they say. Yeah, just a week to go. With Isaiah White here, Marlon Wayans' character, and he's kind of being pushed for an answer by both his agent and then the people there with him in the room. he does it, and it makes everybody happy.
Yeah.
Again, who knows if it makes Cam happy in this moment? Perhaps
he seems happy. He definitely seems excited, right? He's reading this as I'm in. I got it. I'm in, and he's like, I'm just going to go to this week. It's cool. No big deal.
And it's potentially his hero. I mean, from what we've seen, like, or his family's hero, or something in that regard.
It's a chance to meet someone that he has idolized, probably for a large portion of his life.
And by all accounts, the best football player ever. And so it's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I don't mean to frame it as like, oh, would he be happy? But I mean, also everyone else is super happy about it, and so it's not necessarily even his full choice. I guess
his hangers on are ecstatic at this, and so he must go do this. The pressure is coming from all sides and from within too, because it's clearly something that Cameron wants very much too. So and so Cameron ventures into the wilderness. He's driving. We can assume this is Texas, right?
It's New Mexico is where most of this film is shot, but it is a very deserty scene.
Well, the scene we can assume is like southwest.
Oh,
Texas,
fair enough. Okay,
right?
Yeah. For in universe, I mean, this is San Antonio,
outside of San Antonio, somewhere going west.
There's plenty of desert in Texas. I grew up there. I don't recommend it.
1 star. Would not do again. Yeah, exactly.
I grew up where there are literal tumbleweeds, armadillos, roadrunners, like all these things that are just hilarious and quaint to so many people.
Not as cute as it seems.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Dirt that blows up at you all the time. It's awful.
And this is where Cam is going, and it looks exactly like what Kyle just described: a blasted, a hinterland, a forsaken, almost kind of wasteland. Like he is leaving civilization, and this scene very much looks like it. It's just his car. There's nothing else around him, and he is just totally by himself in the wilderness, venturing out to Isaiah White's compound. It's just by way of geography and lack of infrastructure and big sweeping camera shots. It's effective. Like
it's interesting aesthetic. Yeah,
he's very much the babe in the wilderness again. Right.
And he's in the like an SUV with his agent, right? That's who's like with him, sort of dropping him off. Is that correct? Like,
oh yeah, that's right. Because he is dropped off at the house. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So
but not before.
Not before we go through the outer ring of super devotees and super fans, and it is honestly kind of a ragtag cult that is just formed around Isaiah White, especially now that word's gotten out that he will probably retire within like one more season. So the cult is really in large numbers now at the gate to his compound.
It's like an encampment, and these people are dressed up in their own weird, sort of goat horns or loincloths or various like things in body paint.
Yeah, they're in Savior's, fan like memorabilia and clothing and branded items and whatnot, but they look like they live in these clothes, right? Like they haven't taken them off for weeks. That it's almost, they look ragged. They have been exposed to the elements and they don't care because this is where they need to be. But they are crazy, and they appear to have, I don't know, a leader. There's a lead figure who presents herself as kind of the main cultist.
Yeah,
who runs up and is screaming and spits on the window. The seat that he's sitting in.
You just talked about how, like, they're worried, I guess, about him retiring, but they clearly know that this is Cam and that this is potentially the new quarterback coming for the Saviors, because we immediately learn, essentially, through this, that this is Isaiah's cult. Obviously, it's outside of his compound, but she runs up and spits on the window and says, "We don't want you."
Yeah.
And then the agent kind of laughs it off and goes, that's just Marjorie. But like, Cameron's, like, very shook. Like, a woman, like, slams herself against the window and is banging up against it, and like
he is clearly not so jaded as to find this to be normal at all, and it kind of shakes him a bit, for sure, as we can understand. He's still, I guess we can assume, what, 22? He's young.
It's if that, it must be, because we guessed 5 to 8, and it's 14 years later, so he's somewhere probably 21, 22. I'd say it's graduation ages. So.
Yeah, so he's still fresh. He hasn't seen too much craziness yet, and this is a big faceful of it for sure. But they finally, his car makes it through the cultists. They get through the gate. They're driving towards the house. We get another big sweeping shot of where he's dropped off, and it's a walk to the front door, but it's kind of like a temporary kind of staging area, parking area.
And they really leave him alone. It is a cool shot because it's a very interesting, half in the ground, modern architecture, bunker / mansion thing.
Yeah.
It's very sparse, stark. Spartan, I guess I would say would be a good word for it.
The outside is very, it's kind of brutal, kind of austere, right? But still ornate. It looks expensive. Right. It definitely looks expensive, no matter what. Right. No matter what you think about the styling, it looks like money has been spent, and we just see it on his body, on his face, that it's enormous, and he feels small in it. Right. Like that he is walking into a strange place. And he kind of is, and it's enormous no matter what it is, and he's in the middle of the nowhere too, and he was dropped off, so he doesn't have enough. He doesn't have a car. He's very much. Again, this is where it starts taking on a real gothic quality, right? It starts kind of feeling like Dracula, like he's a young innocent who's approaching Dracula's castle without knowing what he's doing or what he's getting into.
Because he's not welcomed either. He's lets himself into this big weird house in a way that it's like Belle and the Beast the Dracula thing or something.
Exactly, like Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, exactly. Another great gothic fable, right? But no one is at the front door to greet him. No one is apparently even aware that he's there. He brings in Amazon packages that have acquired outside the front doors, right? So you get the sense that no one has been to the front door in who knows how long.
And immediately upon entering, it is a big spooky vibe, and flanking him on either sides are massive portraits of two people, which appear to be Isaiah and Lady Gaga.
Wow, Lady Gaga's in this film. No, she's not in this film. We can infer that there are two portraits flanking the hallway. On his right, Isaiah. On his left, we can assume that it's his wife. We haven't been introduced to this person yet, but we can assume, right?
The lady of the house, yes, the manor.
Yeah.
But he looks around, and he kind of makes his way through some rooms, again, still just alone, and he finds a display with the 8 championships rings and an MVP trophy Isaiah won, and he kind of is just looking at it. He's marveling in a sense of I guess thinking probably things like, wow, this is what fame and riches and everything gets you, and maybe this could be what I have and stuff.
This first part of the house that he's walking through, there are various treasures and trophies on display, and very much so. There are works of art. There are things that just look expensive, but then also 8 championship trophies set up in a room with a very prominent display, right? It's definitely meant to be attention getting, and it gets his attention, right? That he's basically walking into what he wants his life to be 20 years from now, more or less. This is at least the appearance of everything he wants. Kind of a taste of it, but especially the trophies too, right? It's like, here it is. This is everything he wants. This is what he wants to accomplish, and it's just right there, right? So, yeah, it's a very dramatic moment for him. He's visibly just kind of overwhelmed by it, right? Just really is taken aback by all this that's very close to him now, right? He's not watching this from the other side of a TV, right? It's still kind of the other side of a glass screen. Right, it's in a trophy case, so he's looking through glass at it, but it's closer. It's
closer than ever,
more real than it's ever been. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, on one hand, it is everything he's ever wanted, never worked for. But on the other thing, it looks very small. I mean, just the rings, a tiny little trophy and stuff. And so that kind of can speak to the metaphor of sports. And you work your whole life, you destroy your body for some of this stuff, and you get a little bits of metal, whatever.
Well, and also
he's in your house.
And it's also the old saying, "Don't ever meet your heroes in person." Right? It's all now that it's all more real. It now has finite definitions and terms, right? It's just going to be smaller. It's just going to be smaller now that it's in your face and real, right? So it's, another kind of dueling moment, right? We have two kind of things kind of awkwardly put together. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's well done. And so, I mean, he does in like the next room, he finds Isaiah doing something pretty creepy in a room, mainly because he finds him where he's doing some leather tanning, and there's with literal skins on the wall, which is another double meaning of like when you have sports wins and trophies and things, you have skins on the wall. But no, there are literally skins on the wall here. It's like animals and the stuff that he has laid out.
They can be trophies, and they can also just be evidence of your kills. Right, it's things that you acquire that denote your status, but also things that are evidence of your actions. And the evidence of his recent actions are a bunch of skulls.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's not just skins; it's literal skulls there. And and as he's working on the latest thing, Cam kind of jokingly, like or lightly, asks him if he's just killed the thing he's working on, and Isaiah doesn't answer and just falls flat and just like falls to the ground. He's like, okay then. Like he instead asks Cam about himself and talks about the week they're going to have together. And just launches off into that, which can be very off-putting as like a non sequitur, or if you're just like have tried to start a light conversation and then it goes like somewhere completely different in an odd tone.
When you immediately discovered that your hero is super eccentric and kind of off-putting and kind of weird. Well, great. Good thing you're isolated with him with no ride away.
And that happens even even further because he's like, taking away your phone. Talks about radical detachment and how he needs to focus on football on this. So he is truly isolated. He is now, his link to the outside world is gone, and he's in a brand new place that he does not know. And it's pretty spooky.
Yeah, his link to the outside world, and also his point of reference for anything that isn't football, because now it's all football. It's all football. His link to his family has been severed. His means of transportation, he doesn't have that anymore. He's just in all football now, and it's about to get a little weird. But the first day, however, as it's entitled, it's just fun.
It's fun. Like Marlon Wayans' character, he plays him, and obviously he'll play him different ways, sort of as this goes along. But the very first day and the time we meet him here in this room, he seems very jovial and personable. And the scene ends with him having like Cameron hammer a nail into the hide and say, "Remember to have fun." Yeah. Which hits us with the title card. Then
we get a title card. We get a kind of a structuring device in this film, right? Day one, fun, and the progression of the story from this point is going to unfold in these days, right? This one is entitled "Fun," and it is. They're doing some practice. It looks like standard practice, nothing too crazy, just doing some reps, whatnot. Isaiah seems clearly capable and clearly strong, and Cam is kind of struggling to keep up with them, kind of, trying to, go through the routine at Isaiah's pace. He does it effortlessly. Cam is kind of, he's keeping up, but he's straining to do so. And as the montage progresses, he gets more comfortable, right? He's kind of on sure footing, right? He's demonstrating his strength a bit more readily, whatnot. It's all still standard practice. It's fun. Right.
And it's, I mean, another just eye-opening big, like, small fish in a big pond thing, because this is a private indoor training field that's amazing looking. And he's got his banners of his trophies and stuff up there. He's got all of these attendants and people essentially at his whims. Line up for this drill, run and catch that, do this. We meet the trainer, Jim Jeffries' character, Marco, the first time, the physical therapist of this. But they're really bond over, like, running drills, lifting weights, stretching, and, like, just being manly and sporty. They're lifting, they're pumping weight. Oh, good lift, bro. Good stuff.
But yeah, there's a lot of money and power on display, and it's all Isaiah's, right? It's his practice space, but it's also kind of his temple, and it's a temple devoted to him, right? And some more sports / religiosity, mixing here, right? This definitely seems like a cult space, and he's the cult leader, right? Everyone there is about him. About him,
yeah,
right?
It's his house, it's his field. I mean, it's his way or the highway, or you know.
And even Cam, from Isaiah's perspective, is about him, right? You know, like we, the audience, kind of see it a little differently, but we can kind of tell that, this space is all Isaiah's, right? To a degree that. Well, again, day one is just fun. It gets less fun as the days progress, but we get a funny moment here where they need to do a physical on Cam, right? So they tell him to strip down. He does. We get a nice little butt shot, a tasteful butt shot of young naked Tyriq Withers / Cam.
And he's a little reticent, and Isaiah tells him, like, just take your underwear off, which leads to a funny line in a moment. But yeah.
So, but the doctor is going about giving him a physical, and another attendant. They're talking about Cam's physicality, but this is all kind of background. Foreground, we have a conversation between Cameron and Isaiah where Isaiah is talking about the nature of injury and sacrifice, right? What are you willing to sacrifice for this, right? How injured are you willing to become for this, right? It's just kind of lightly philosophical, right? But just talking about the nature of especially taking on this role, right? You're going to have to sacrifice a lot. You're probably going to be injured, and he kind of gives Cameron a warning. External motivation might not be enough, right? You might think that you're doing this for your family, and that's enough, right? You care about them, and all the money you're going to make on this is enough for doing what you're going to do. But Isaiah doesn't seem to think that's really true from his experience, right? That something else will be required of you, right? It's not exactly clear at this point what Isaiah means, but he's hinting at something.
And he's even sacrificing immediately, I mean, dignity in this. He's stripped down quite literally, and he's being poked and prodded and measured, and then, all this stuff tested. And
both by the doctor, but also by Isaiah too, right? Isaiah's kind of mentally...
Absolutely,
given a mental physical, as it were, right?
Eventually, he's told to put his clothes back on, and Dr. Jim Jeffries says he never needed to remove his underwear, and that actually made things quite awkward.
Womp womp.
There's bits of comedy mixed in here. There's not a lot of it, frankly. We'll get to that. I know some people's complaints with the movie are like that's striking a balance between comedy and horror and lots of things. But when you cast like Tim Heidecker and Jim Jeffries as like two of probably the main 5 or 6 roles, you got to give them something or at least to play with, I imagine.
Yeah.
Here. So it's
sure.
It's a funny bit. Somewhere around here, we also meet Mrs. White, the Lady Gaga, or really she reminds me, seeing her up close, as Yolandi Visser of the Diane Antwoord Band, like the grungy-looking blonde without eyebrows, because she kind of looks like she doesn't have eyebrows. They're kind of like painted or like whited out, if anything, on top.
It's kind of like Yolandi plus Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, right? It's like a more weird-looking Fergie or a more glamorous-looking Yolandi,
right?
Depending on how you want to think about it.
Because her head's not like shaved on the side. It is a nice head of hair she has, but it's just very odd look. It's off-putting for sure.
She has an intense look, and I guess you could say it's glamorous. I don't know if it's beautiful. It's glamorous, but it's intense, and she has a very on look.
It's very draggy. I've seen queens with this aesthetic and stuff for sure. Because things are like caked. Like I mentioned, her eyebrows or her face. Like she is, and you talk gothic. Like she's a very pale situation going on.
Exactly. Her name's Elsie, by the way. She introduces herself to Cam, and she. It's kind of a funny scene. We see her. She's clearly an influencer. She's making a post about some product that she's hawking. As we discover, it's kind of like Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop Jade Egg, where shove it up your vagina, and apparently has curative and medicinal properties. And at the end of the scene, she hands him a jagged, sharp-looking jade obelisk that apparently he's supposed to shove up his ass.
Right, because he's like, where do I put this?
Yeah.
I don't have a vagina. She's like, oh, you'll know. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, she says, you'll know. And then waits a moment. You shove it up your ass. Because apparently it wasn't going to... Cameron was going to resist understanding this. Bless his heart. Yeah.
She says she's going out of town, yeah, and she'll see him later after this.
But the conversation, it's interesting. She just very casually, just kind of, in the midst of saying any number of other things, just says, oh, and transitions of power are never peaceful. She very much... She is nobody's fool. She kind of like she's an influence, and you kind of think, oh, she's just kind of a ditzy wife of a football celebrity. But she understands what's going on. This is a transition of power, right? This is one despot handing off power to another despot, and she gets it. She totally understands what the stakes are, what the conflicts are here, right? Or at least you can reasonably infer that she's not clueless about what's happening, right? And she's almost she's glib, but she's kind of got an edge about it.
Right,
Yeah.
and I mean, you've seen it twice now. I think that probably would be a lot more on the surface to me seeing it a second time, because at the time I didn't really clock her as being much besides a vapid, like influencer or somebody. And she just like whirlwinds out of the scene, as I just mentioned. She's like, well, gotta go travel. I'll see you later or something.
Yeah,
and so it was just like a bewildering conversation that she had with Cam, where he's like, what is this?
Yeah,
Who is this? Yeah.
And she just kind of offhandedly says this, and it's not clear if Cam really picks up on it, right? It's the audience. It's kind of for the audience whether or not the character Cameron gets the implication. No, he probably doesn't. Why would he? Right? He's had day one, which is entitled fun, right? This is a fun day, right? It's not supposed to be anything other than that, right? So yeah.
And he's had fun, yeah. I mean, like I have down. Cam has a good day one. There's no signs of anything too weird yet, and then we see them sort of. Literally chilling out at the end of the day because he's in an ice bath, and then over in the other side of the room, Isaiah's there. But this is one of the other weird sort of things we start getting is he gets an injection from Dr. Jim Marco, here for the pain, he says. But you just saw this. He doesn't really warn him about it, does he? Like it kind of just like gets shoved in there. Or
no,
is the first one.
He's just kind of like, here you go, you'll need this, and then just stabs him, injects them. There you go. Yeah. Poor Cameron. He's not really. He doesn't really have a lot of agency at the moment, right? He's stripped naked, inspected by multiple people, and then is injected with something.
People are telling him to shove things up his ass.
Yeah,
like a lot of
exactly. Yeah. He's just kind of being just thrown about from one scenario to another. Not exactly in control, or it has light control. light control.
Yeah. And one of the weirder things we see in this scene too is we see Isaiah getting a transfusion of his own blood? ? Like weirdly.
Yeah. So we transition to Cam is in an ice bath. Recovering. It's filled with ice cubes and whatnot, and Isaiah is sitting off to the side, and a IV is connected to him, a blood bag is connected to that. It almost looks like a blood transfusion, but we discovered that no, he's harvesting his own blood because at that moment it's oxygen rich.
Yeah, that's what he states.
Yeah. So which someone write in, tell me if this is common practice in professional sports. I've never heard of this. It seems extreme. I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's just, wow, that's extreme.
I think it's more the context
extreme.
of the movie. I've definitely never heard of this happening.
Yeah,
Cameron hasn't either, to the point where he's just like, oh, okay. Like when he's just being told this matter-of-factly, he's like, sure, your own blood to have later or something because it's oxygen-rich right now.
Yeah.
So it's sure. I think that's about the end of day one as far as my notes go. Again, you've seen it more recently.
Yeah, well, like we have this odd scene of Isaiah extracting his own blood. He leaves. The doctor then enters the room, and the doctor and Cameron are conversing. The doctor goes over the the idea of a gladiator's oath, right? A tradition amongst Roman gladiators where they would swear this oath to their trainers to accept and endure all kinds of injury and torment for the sake of the spectacle and the sport, right? So the doctor, the doctor likes dropping these little gems about gladiator culture and whatnot. He likes making these kind of offhand references to the Last Supper of Christ or whatnot. We get a bit of Roman culture circa the time of Jesus Christ by way of this doctor, right? So gladiator culture, certain Roman traditions or whatnot, right? And so we're having old school something being invoked by the doctor, right? In the midst of various other surreal moments, we have this doctor going kind of old school, right? It's kind of setting the mode and the mood a bit, right? Like Cameron is very isolated in this place, and now we're getting old school, right? And the doctor seems to be very much kind of this is in his head. You know,
he does speak somewhat cryptically because Cameron, is not quite sure why that's important or said or something in a way. But also, I mean, people talk this way about sports. Like, they really do. Like, we are in the arena, and much as a coliseum is an arena, we are going to kill our opponents. We're going to beat them to death. We're going to do all this stuff. And so it's not unapplicable, or it's not like completely obtuse to him. But also, it's just it's like, all right. Cool, buddy.
Yeah. and I think just in terms of like as a narrative device, right? It's we've had notions of blood sacrifice already introduced, right? And it's just kind of furthering that tone, right? We're going to an ancient place with this. Mm-hmm. What this is, we don't still quite know, but we're going there, and it's old, ancient, something. Yeah. We end the scene with Cameron kind of submerging himself in the water, just kind of like a moment of solitude that's immediately interrupted by someone yanking him out and yelling at him. He's already in his football uniform. We get the sense that this is the next day. It's another ice bath, and it just kind of blended into, like, one day just kind of blended into the other, and suddenly he's frantically getting out and going to the field, and now it's day 2. We get another title card. Poise. Poise. P-O-I-S-E. Poise, right? So,
and they have some really cool scene transitions, and like, I will say this is just a beautifully visually shot movie, and like a lot of things, it's just surreal is a great way to describe it, but like the use of light, and especially the color red, I want to say in this movie is very interesting and well done. There's some attention to the aesthetic. Right, there's some attention to the symbolism inherent in things like this. Right, we get a lot of red color symbolism for sure. Absolutely. And so, poise, day 2. Right, it's more training. Right, this time it's Cameron and Isaiah. They're running through the wilderness that surrounds this complex. Mm-hmm. It's hot. It's desolate. It's West Texas. It's cactus and scrub grass and sand and rocks and hot sun, and that's it. Not a tree to be seen. Yeah,
no, not a breeze at all. No respite from the elements. Isaiah doesn't seem terribly fazed by it. Cameron, however, very much is. He's running, trying to keep up. Eventually, just has to stop. Pukes. Doesn't look good. We cut to him just lying on his back,
hyperventilating,
just staring at the sun, just looking like he's dying. It's not a good moment. And in the midst of all this, he's kind of hallucinating.
Yeah,
he's just from exposure and deprivation. He's hallucinating his own murder by the guy that clubbed him earlier, right?
The same dude.
Behind. It's the same guy who who appears to have found him and is just murdering him, and then it cuts to Isaiah having found him
He's got this big old like hammer spike weapon thing. That he got him with earlier.
It looks real old. It's an old, ancient looking warhammer, basically, right? With a blunt side, but then a sharp spike on the other side, like a hammer, but then it's a killing weapon. Mm-hmm. However, it's a hallucination. It's Isaiah standing there. His voice sounds distant, becomes less so as Cameron kind of comes to. Isaiah offers him water. He's basically rescuing him in a way that it's just rich with like primordial symbolism, right? Like the offering of water as a gesture of like primitive kindness, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost, again, kind of religious, kind of like the Good Samaritan kind of moment, right? The tone, the pacing of it, give it a kind of religiosity to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It super does. And I mean, it's worth mentioning at this point, I mean, the hallucinations and not being sure what's like real at any given moment is kind of going to like permeate this movie. And it's part of it because the brain trauma. Yeah. And then, I mean, whatever else is going on, but also who knows what's in those injections and stuff. There's a lot of things going on where you're just like, Cameron's kind of a little fading in and out of reality at times amongst everything else weird going on with him and such.
There's the physical part to this that we can understand, right? His brain injury, these mysterious shots he's been giving, the grueling conditions that he's subjecting himself to. But then there's also just the scenario that he's in, right? Everything about this scenario is itself just kind of crazy, right? And the person who seems to be at the center of this, Isaiah, seems to be kind of crazy too, right? And so his ability to discern what's real and what isn't is just, it's being attacked from both sides, just coming and going, right? Just he has no clear referential point for normal reality, right? You know, he's getting swallowed up into football in a dramatic way, right? Will it annihilate him? I don't know. It seems to be taking a toll, right? So,
and it still seems benevolent. I mean, like you said, Isaiah kind of helps him out. But the next thing I think we see is they're back at the indoor training center. Is this correct? Where we get five unknowns sort of introduced. Where Cam's like, "Who are these guys?"
So. Yeah, Cameron, he's still kind of ragged from their run, right? He's sitting on the bench. It's that indoor training facility, basically almost like a half football field in size. And Isaiah approaches him and starts up a conversation about it starts asking a number of questions, right? Like if you could never injure or never tire, which would you choose, right? You know, which would you prefer? Of course, Cameron's answer is, I would prefer not to be injured, right? And injuries stop any number of great players. It's kind of way of him admitting that he's tired, or Isaiah he hears this and how he responds, like, you're tired. And kind of proceeds to mock him about it, like, oh, well, you know, okay, I'm going to go out into the field and practice, but, you know, if you're tired, well, you know, just go ahead and stay here, okay? I'm going to go out and practice, okay? And that's when we see a pack of like 5 volunteers walking towards them. Cameron doesn't know who they are, is immediately kind of worried, like, wait, who the hell are they? Like, who are these guys? And Isaiah doesn't really say what they're about, right? Just they're just volunteers to help.
I think he calls them free agents.
Yeah, like they're free agents,
undrafted or unattached or something. But I mean, free agents can be a little.
But the implication of that being is that has Isaiah invited competition into this kind of, you know, training, like personal training for him, right?
Or other gladiators that have to prove themselves, because if you're a free agent, you're trying to get on a team. You need to prove yourself as a man, as a whatever, your prowess, your ability.
Yeah, so Cameron picks up on this. He's immediately kind of worried about this. But Isaiah, he has a scenario in mind for Cameron. Cameron's gonna throw the ball. He's gonna do some practices where he spins around, throws the ball to, and he
the receivers.
He wants one of the receivers to catch it, right? One of these free agents, right? But there's a twist. One of the volunteers is going to stand near the auto football thrower, right? I don't know the actual name of this thing, right?
I have down here the white one. It's just this.
the white free agent is he takes a position by their mechanical football thrower, their football launcher.
This is called a jugs machine. Just as a
machine?
Fun Teddy reference. I don't know. It's an acronym, mind you, but it calls to mind.
Yeah. So he takes a position. What, jugs machine? Is that what you call it? We still don't really know what's going on, but Isaiah he starts making calls, throwing the ball to Cameron. He's got to start performing, right?
And to just describe that for the audience, the machine it's two really quickly rotating wheels, and you feed a football into it, and it goes out. So in theory, if you're a wide receiver and you have a buddy there that doesn't have a great throwing arm or something, or a coach, an older, pudgier coach, he just feeds the balls in, and it shoots it down the field to you, and so you can catch it.
Yeah. But at high speeds.
It's high speeds because it goes very far.
Yeah.
That is not what this is going to be used for quite at this moment.
Well, it'll be used for high speeds.
Yeah, well.
So the scenario that Isaiah has cooked up for Cameron is that every time that Cameron misses a throw, his fault, the receiver's fault, whatever. At any time one of these throws is missed, the white free agent. We're just what are we going to call him? We're going to call him facial. We're going to call him.
Yeah, I don't know. He's already not the best looking person, but he's about to get a lot worse looking.
He's going to be a lot less pretty soon. Every single time Cam misses, this guy has to take a high speed automated football launch to the face at close proximity. Basically, he is being punished every time Cameron misses his throw by taking a high-speed football to the face. And
he doesn't volunteer for it. He runs over and puts his arms behind his back and is like, let's go, boss, to Isaiah.
He eagerly volunteers. There's no hesitation to this guy at all. He's not acting like he's being forced. He's happy to do it. And boy, does he take some high-speed footballs to the face. Cameron... And once he understands what the scenario is, it clearly starts unnerving him. He starts missing more, and this guy is just getting pummeled every time Cameron misses. It's a very tense moment. It's very frantic. The edit starts getting very frantic. We get a number of cuts of Cameron, the receivers who are missing, Isaiah yelling 10 hut and spiking the ball, and just over and over again, and this poor hapless free agent getting nailed in the face constantly, and it's just over and over and over and over again.
He's very bloodied as the time goes on, and I mean Cam's kind of like, because again, it's not just if he messes up necessarily, if the receiver drops it. So he's like, come on, guys, let's do better.
He's trying to rally his team,
but Isaiah's almost reveling in it, because whenever Cam at one point does kind of stop and is like, I forget if he's like, is he okay, or if he just kind of hesitates, he doesn't turn around in time to even catch the ball to make the throw. Isaiah doesn't care. He's like, well, hit old that guy again, old white messed up face, and it has no mercy for it, because this is the drill. This is Isaiah's sort of game of the moment to mess with Cam's head, and boy does it.
Cameron kind of breaks with this weird scenario, and Isaiah loudly and angrily calls him out, right? Or do you have what it takes? Are you willing to do this? Are you willing to make these sacrifices? And tells him what you're doing as a quarterback. You all the glory is yours, but so is all the defeat. Right? Those are the stakes, right? You get the revel and victory, but whenever anything goes wrong, that's on you. That's you, right? Again, it's it's like, what kind of goat are we talking about, right? Are we talking about the greatest of all time, or are we talking about the vessel of our sins? That we free ourselves of, right?
And it's very true. The quarterback, among sports, there's usually a position that's more important than the other. Like you may say in baseball, it's the pitcher because he's got the ball in his hands, he's got the control of the game. But in the quarterback's case, in football, it's absolutely him. It's just all the other people play a part and a role, much like his other teammates, his receivers, and this guy, just being pummeled in the face play. But he's the one. He's got the ball in his hands. He makes the plays. And so it's being driven into him. Yeah, like this is responsibility. This is leadership. This is being responsible for your teams. Yeah, injuries or hurts or whatever else as well. And it's accurate. It's a brutal, brutal lesson and something that Cam was not prepared for because day one was fun.
Yeah.
And this is not so much fun anymore. Are we having fun yet?
Yeah. And again, the name of this day is poise. Poise is right. It's how you carry yourself, right? And that is what Cameron's education on this day is about, right? Isaiah is trying to get him into a certain posture, right? Both physically, but also again mentally, right? It's about a certain kind of mental poise, right? How do you carry yourself in the face of what Isaiah is arguing you must do for this, right? You make your body respond under pressure, but how do you make your mind respond? It's again, right? It's two competing notions of this, right? Kind of like goat, right? Like what do we mean by poise, right? This is kind of the mental conditioning, right? The indoctrination into this, right? But also the initiation into it. It's more. There's more religion at stake than just football, right? This is.
Well, it's certainly blood sacrifice again.
Yeah.
I mean, especially by the end of it all, our poor Jug's sacrifice here is not only bloodied, he's lost a tooth. His eye is swollen shut on one side. It's not Cameron's necessarily blood sacrifice this time or anything, but
it was for him. It was for his sake.
And for your sins. Yeah. I mean, this is literally another religion straight up for Cameron's sins. Somebody else was sacrificed and blood here, much like in the Old Testament and such.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I think I have here, after that's all done, the dude, the really fucked up guy who's bleeding and has lost a tooth, he thanks Isaiah for the opportunity at the end.
Yeah, enthusiastically. He is awestruck to just be in Isaiah's presence. Isaiah mentions, man, your face got all fucked up, and they all kind of laugh at it, and Isaiah immediately clocks him, why are you laughing? Right? This moment, it wasn't for him. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for him. Maybe it was for Cameron. Isaiah definitely felt like it was for Isaiah, right? It's a cult. It's a cult, right? This white football to the face guy. He doesn't have a name. And why would he?
No, he doesn't need one.
Why would he?
It wasn't for him. You're right. This was literally a test and an exercise for Cameron in this.
Exactly.
So I have down, I guess validate me again, that Cam this night calls his mom for her birthday. I think he uses the landline or something. But in the face of really weird and fucked up day, he kind of calls his mom and wants to get a slice of home or little bit of...
This is after the beginning of day 3, which... is entitled Leadership. We get another big title card, right? Like Poise, it's kind of cryptically entitled. Like, what do you mean by leadership? Well, we're about to find out, right? This day, the practice is now getting really kind of dark and edgy and violent. There's a real violent vibe to it. No one's having fun now. This is very real. It's full contact. Cameron's a little. He takes a really hard hit by another one of these free agents, and he's kind of taken aback by it. He's a little surprised that this is as full contact as it is. He was thinking this is just practice again, but nope, it's gotten super real. He gets hit real hard. We get we get like the camera, the scene transitions from a normal perspective to suddenly like an X-ray.
X-ray, yeah.
We see his brain kind of shaking. We see the stitches and sutures straining under the impact. This hasn't been like the one, but it was a big ugly hit, and we get to see some evidence of it by way of this X-ray perspective.
Yeah, it's like a Mortal Kombat modern game, or like a Sniper Elite game, the player where you see what's happening inside the body. And the audience we were in for the preview just winced and gasped at this like constantly, because again, we're on edge. Like he's got a head injury and his head is like slamming into the turf, and people are just full contact going at him and just laughing afterwards, being like, haha, football. And we're like, oh no, our protagonist, like poor sweet beautiful Cameron.
And Cameron is he's taken aback by how aggressive it has gotten in this practice session, and Isaiah grabs his helmet, gets in his face,
his face mask,
and is calling him out, and just reading him to filth. Right? Are you doing this because your daddy didn't love you enough and you need validation? And is that why you're here? It just really trying to get in his head.
He says he knew he was soft and he has to be better and stuff. Yeah, like
again, he's asked, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to actually do? Right? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? And to which Cam responds, everything. I that's how much he wants it. Like he's still really, really in it. And so he kind of he ups his game, right? He's like, fine, fuck it. Like I'm gonna get hella aggressive too, right? Like that's where I am. That's what's going on. I'm gonna fuck someone up, right? And so the next play starts. Ball snapped, and he tackles someone really hard. And
well, we get like they almost frame this in a way where we think it could be Cam, because we see another X-ray shot. It doesn't show who's who initially. We see two helmets' heads just slam together in a massively painful thing. And so the audience gasped again because we're like, oh, Cameron!
He just died or something. Like he fell back. He's on his back. He's twitching.
Yeah, he's seizing fully.
But the player's still standing, takes off their helmet, reveals that it's Cameron, and he just headbutt this guy hard. And this guy, he is responding in the classic like sudden brain injury way. He's convulsing, he's twitching, his arms are in front of him in the classic defensive posture that someone can take when they suffer a really severe brain injury. Like their hands, like their fingers are kind of bending back, but their hands are in front of them as like a protective gesture.
Well, it curls up like a bug dying almost, or something like that.
Yeah, it looks real bad. It's very visceral, and you feel it. This is a film that's all about injury, and the prospect of injury is always just being teased. And now that it's happened, it's just it's almost pornographic how excessive.
Oh my God, yeah. And it's another duality moment, because like Cameron is really excited. He basically he did the thing. He's like, oh, you called me soft, you called me a pussy, but he says, Isaiah, come get your boys. He's a dead body. And he's like sort of stomping away, walking the other direction, while we, the audience, and anybody with any sort of perspective on this is like, that man needs immediate medical help and might be messed up for life.
Yeah.
But in his own little gladiator coliseum, he just defeated an opponent. That's all he cares about in that moment. That's what sports is, and that's what he's being told to do.
Yeah.
We
had this moment in the previous scene where we have guy taking footballs to the face, and after that moment has ended, Cam rushes over to help him. Right? He's still concerned about these kind of injuries on the field. Now, not so much. Right? Maybe he's not even all that concerned about his own ongoing injury, but he's reveling in what he has done to this other player. And honestly, so is everyone else there, especially Isaiah. Isaiah, it shows how proud he is of Cam now.
And they frame it. It is interesting. The training field goes silent when this happens. Like Cameron's like, yeah, like I killed him. And we think he might have overdone it for a moment. But then Isaiah says, there he is, indicating that's exactly what he wanted out of Cam. Yeah. And we see people just celebrating him at that moment and going. So So he is invited to learn the wrong lesson here, as far as our perspective. But again, he is in football now, right? He doesn't have a phone, he doesn't have a car, he doesn't have a way out. He is in football, and from Isaiah's perspective, this is what it's about. This is what it's about, right? It's fucking someone up on the field and celebrating that you were victorious. You're still standing, he's not. That's it. Yeah.
And that's the lesson. And we see Cameron starting to embody this or practice it, or he is acknowledging the lesson that this is. Right? Like it's. Like he this is his initiation, right? And he's now performed his first act of sacrifice, right?
And it's kind of his like surrogate father figure. Again, his father's dead. This is his like hero or something, and so he's trying to impress him. And when the guy's like basically giving him positive feedback for doing this versus negative feedback for giving a shit if your teammate's hurt or if random people are being hurt. Again, you're right. Learning all the wrong lessons, and the reinforcement is going the wrong way of what probably a good human might be used to.
And I think this is the first like violent act on Cameron's part, right? It's the first time that he's really hurt someone, and so it's a real kind of tipping point moment, right? Like is he the same person that he was before that, right? I don't know. He seems to be in a state of flux at this point. Let's see. So later. Let's see.
The next thing I had was that we see Marjorie of the Colts and two of her fully white body painted horn cult members outside looking in at Cam. This could be, again, maybe there's something in between there. But
let's see. Oh, that's right. We have a scene of him walking the halls. And this is where I became convinced that the way you have to understand this film is that it's a gothic horror film.
This is the castle, essentially.
Yeah, he's basically roaming the castle, and he's by himself, or he thinks that he is, and he hears all kind of strange things. He's hallucinating, right? He thinks that he sees paparazzi, and then once again, weird, menacing mascot guy is behind him with a plastic bag, suffocating him.
Oh yeah.
And just when he thinks he's about to suffocate and die, it just all disappears, and we discover no, it's just hallucination this whole time. But this is becoming more of a thing, right? Like he's hallucinating, or is he having kind of premonitions almost? It's not clear, but something strange is happening to him. For sure, right? Just this moment of strangeness as he again wanders this kind of like, it's like Dracula's castle, castle horrors, all kinds of terrible things lurking around every corner and in every shadow, right? And he gets a little exposure to that, right? Again, it's gothic horror. He's like in a haunted house or a haunted castle.
And then I think that happens, the Marjorie thing, because we do see her at some point here, whether now or in the very, very near future of the film, looking in at him and stuff, essentially flagging again that she's out there. Yeah. And that we don't want you, if you recall. So
let's see. We transition to him.
Just in the sauna, relaxing.
At the one phone. There's there's a landline.
This is what I mentioned earlier,
that he can use to dial out. He finally calls home. He's talking with his brother, with his mother, right? But it's a moment where he's actually rejoining the outside world for a brief, a very, very brief moment. But he's interrupted by the doctor,
Marco,
who kind of busts him. Violating protocol, right? Of not, sequestering himself for the sake of football. they talk a bit. The doctor wistfully tells him, "Never kill yourself for a job," which it sounds understandable. He talks about how he has sacrificed a lot just to be Isaiah's personal doctor. A very humorous moment. He bemoans that he never gets to see his kids.
His wife and his kids.
And when pressed upon how many kids he has, he admits he doesn't have any kids.
I don't have any kids.
But he wouldn't be able to see them anyway. So, like...
Because I'm working my job. I don't
exactly.
have kids, so
exactly.
I can't see him. So. It's just another little Jim Jeffries moment.
little gem there. Yeah, exactly.
I think he does another cryptic warning or something too. Like he's very
he mentions a line that a shame to see how well I've prepared you. To which Cameron asks, "For what?" Right. We can kind of we could feel comfortable acknowledging that he's being prepared for something. We still don't really quite we don't necessarily quite know. We know that weird stuff is happening, but it's cryptic still.
Doesn't he get another shot here too? I mean, that's part of the trainer's deal. He might not, but
Well, the doctor is definitely throwing back some pills at this moment. He seems kind of bleary-eyed. I think he's actually eating pills in this scene. So he's
kind of an interesting figure in a way that he seems to be sympathetic to Cam, but also just whether from the pills or whatever, he's just bemoaning or bemusing about. He's trying to sort of tell him things that are not on the nose, that are not really understandable to Cam.
The doctor's kind of warning him, kind of toying with him. It's a little bit of both, right? Like the doctor is not necessarily on his side, but is kind of toying with what he knows is Cameron's fate. It's an interesting game. For sure. We transition to a scene with Isaiah and Cameron again. They're in a sauna. The camera is moving through a hallway where we see what look like faces mounted on a wall. It's very quick, and you don't really see it very much, but again, this idea of trophies and things like that, right? They're mounted on the wall like you would a trophy, but they're masks or they're replicas of faces, right? Mm-hmm. One of them looks like a pig. The other look like people, right? But it's not really clear, right? But it's faces mounted on a wall like trophies. It's very primitive, very old school.
The movie's very aesthetic. It doesn't necessarily go out of its way to explain or just beat you over the head with a lot of things, but it does do a lot of environment building, or at least I do think it's a
kind of
good
setting a mood
description of the castle or the gothic horror thing, because just some of the decorations or the Spartanness or the fact that the people that do wander the castle are either cryptic to you or just sort of unnerving to you.
They're strange and menacing and mysterious.
Yeah.
They're like creatures or monsters or something like that. Yeah. So while they're having the sauna, they're talking more, and Isaiah's opining about the philosophy of all this and what football has meant to him, and it's kind of a touchy moment, right? He's really kind of being truthful about kind of the emotional core of all this, right? Mm-hmm. Earlier on in the film, we had this kind of pompous moment where Isaiah is saying, some people see it as in this order, family.
It's God, family, football.
God, family, football, right? But Isaiah, no, it's football, family, God. Mm-hmm. God very much third, football very much first, right? But in this moment, it's more just the raw emotion of his life in football, right? He divulges that he didn't really have a family until football, right? Football really has given him everything in his life that is valuable, and it has been his life.
And people just yelling his name. Like, I mean, he's gotten literal adoration and idolization over this stuff.
But he tells Cameron, find your own way to greatness. Don't be me. Be better. Which, okay, I mean, that, inspiring and whatnot, right? He seems like kind of a weird character, but this seems like kind of a moment of him just as a real person.
Right.
Just being wistful about the past and what it took to get there, and some fatherly advice.
It's an honest moment for sure. And I mean, it does come off in mentorly in a way that, like, I mean, really hasn't at certain other times in the movie. Yeah, when we see a sadistic side, or how far he's willing to go for football. And I mean, he obviously talks about that in the conversation too. But yeah, it's just two guys in a sauna being vulnerable, quite literally. They're just in towels.
Being vulnerable. Yeah, absolutely. And again, Isaiah poses a kind of dilemma to him. Would you rather have this or that, right? And this time it's, if you're starving to death in a prison, which do you pick? Food or freedom, right? And again, a lot of cryptic references that we could perhaps expect Cameron to not yet understand. But from our perspective, right, is Isaiah a prisoner? Is he starving? Right? Like, would he choose freedom if he could? I don't know. Like, it kind of hints that maybe that's the dilemma that he finds himself in. Right? Maybe what he was talking about before with telling Cameron to find his own way to greatness. Maybe that's not just fatherly advice. Maybe it's a warning. Maybe it's as is so often in this film, you get two awkward things kind of tied together in the same moment, right?
And I felt it that way too, because it was kind of like, don't follow my footsteps, like, don't be me, because it does kind of read as like, perhaps you could be better, perhaps you could be a better person than me, but also just like, no, this is my way, you pick your own way, because don't follow me down this trail, like, get away from my trail.
It's also perhaps a threat.
Yeah.
Like a territorial declaration.
Exactly. That's exactly the like duality I sort of read into that, because it's interesting. But I think Marlon, just to stop for a moment, I think Marlon Wayans does a great job playing this character, because as much as we've seen him just be like a clown or a goofball in so much, he does a good job of like turning it on and being just a jovial, like, happy, we're having fun mentor, but then also just being serious, being sort of like cold, being sort of aggressive in ways.
He's good with whimsy and edginess, at the same time, but it's kind of, that's definitely the tone of this film for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that wraps up part 1 of our episode on him. We have more to talk about with this football, gothic, psycho thriller. Stay tuned for part 2 coming up next.